Before Super Mario 64 lets you into the castle, it gives you a yard. There's no star out there, there's no mission, nothing is asking you to climb a tree, swim under the bridge, crawl around near the moat, or spend a frankly embarrassing amount of time trying to reach the roof. But that is what I do. Peach promised cake, and I've spent 10 minutes in her driveway. The game has barely started and I'm already ignoring it. A lot of games become fun once they give you a job. Find the key, follow the marker, defeat 6 men who all bought the same shirt. 3D Mario is fun before the job matters. You move the stick and Mario leans into a run. You turn too quickly and he skids. You jump into a tree because it's there. You flip off the top and land badly and immediately try it again. That little patch of grass is basically a promise. If moving around out here feels this good, what is waiting inside? Every 3D Mario game has answered that question differently. Mario 64 gives you fields and mountains. Sunshine gives you an island. Galaxy turns gravity into playground equipment. 3D World builds a jungle gym. Odyssey opens a toy box. And Bowser's Fury drops the pieces into one enormous lake. But they all understand the same basic idea. If controlling Mario is already a good time, a level does not need to drag you through it. It only has to give you something worth jumping on. Calling a game a playground usually makes it sound like I just mean an open world. A big map, lots of icons, and one collectible hidden behind a waterfall because game designers know we've all been trained to check. But a playground can be tiny. It can be a slide, 3 bars, and a plastic steering wheel that does absolutely nothing. The important part is what the space makes you want to try. In Mario, you understand a hill by running up it. You understand a wall by trying to jump off it. A tree is not scenery anymore, it is a pole, a platform, and possibly a terrible place to launch yourself from. He accelerates, he carries momentum, he has to plant his feet and turn. He catches an edge, dust kicks up. His shoes make different sounds against stone, grass, sand, and shallow water. Even the moves that seem purely useful have a little bit of showing off built into them. The triple jump could have just been a higher jump. Instead, it asks you to build a rhythm and ends in a flip. The long jump could have just been a gap clearing button. Instead, Mario throws himself forward with the confidence of someone who will not be paying the hospital bill. This was there from the beginning. During Super Mario 64's development, the team spent months working on Mario's movement, before the game around them had really taken shape. Miyamoto talked about starting with the simple pleasure of making Mario run around and turn properly. They did not build a castle and then figure out how to get Mario through it. They built Mario and then started giving him places to go. This video is following the main 3D lines from Super Mario 64 through Bowser's Fury, because each game takes that same satisfying little mechanic and asks a new question around the space around it. Mario changes, the playground changes, the urge to take the least practical route does not. It's difficult to separate Super Mario 64 from what it meant in 1996. It was not simply Mario of an extra direction. Nintendo had to teach people how to exist in a 3D Mario game while they were playing it. They could have produced something very careful, straight hallways, fixed jumps, maybe a little man in the corner politely explaining what a camera is for. Instead, the first proper course is Bob-omb Battlefield. It is basically a hill and a field. The path leads towards King Bob-omb, but the grass is wide open. You can race Koopa the Quick, wake up the Chain Chomp, fire yourself out of a cannon, climb a tree, or bother a Goomba. Then you spot a floating island and stand underneath it, trying to work out how the game could possibly let you up there. The mountain gives the level a clear shape, but it does not feel like a hallway winding upward. You can see other routes, you can fall off and land somewhere useful. You can get distracted halfway through one star and accidentally learn how another one works. Nintendo did an early playtest where a group of children spent about half a day on this stage. The team watched them repeatedly try to climb a slope that Mario could not actually climb. They would run up, slide back down, and then do it again. From the developer's side, this looked like a problem. The kids were stuck. They were not accomplishing anything. Surely they were having a bad time. Then they were asked if the game was fun. And they all said yes. They wanted to play it again. That might be the entire secret of 3D Mario sitting inside one failed hill climb. The children did not need a star every 30 seconds to prove the time counted. Running up the hill was the fun. Sliding down was fun. Trying the same doomed idea again was fun. Mario 64 keeps building places where that can happen. Whomp's Fortress is a pile of stone hanging in the sky, but it gives you room to poke at it. There's a direct path upward, then little reasons to leave it. a pole beneath a platform, a tower you can climb from several sides, a sleeping piranha plant that turns walking into a stealth game for about 8 seconds. Cool Mountain wraps a racetrack and a slide around one snowy shape. You can return a baby penguin, race the larger penguin, launch yourself off a cliff. Even Peach's castle is playful. It is a menu that refuses to look like one. The paintings are a course selection screen, but you do not highlight them, you jump into them. Doors with numbered stars keep the overall journey moving forward, while the rooms, staircases, basement, courtyard, and hidden walls make the menu itself worth exploring. The secret slide is one of my favorite examples. It has no grand story around it. You jump through a stained glass window, land at the top of a slide, and immediately understand the assignment. Then the game hides another star behind doing it fast enough, because of course it does. Somebody built a slide inside the castle walls. You are always going to try to find a better time. Mario 64 can feel old now. The camera occasionally behaves like some madman is controlling it. Precise turning takes more space than a modern game would ask for, and sometimes Mario grabs a ledge when you wanted him to do something completely different. But the weight also helps the world make sense. A full speed run feels different from taking 2 careful steps. A triple jump needs a runway. Sliding has consequences. When you get good at moving, it feels like you learned what Mario can do rather than simply unlocked a more convenient button. The game also trusts objects to be interesting before they become useful. There are rabbits in the basement, monkeys on Tall Mountain, shells that turn the ground into a surf course, cannons that make the level feel briefly enormous. Some of those things lead directly to stars, some of them are just part of the texture of being there. Mario 64 proved that a player could fail to make progress and still want another turn. Then Sunshine asks what would happen if the playground felt like a real place you wanted to visit. Sunshine is my favorite game in this series. I know it's not the cleanest one. I know exactly which shine sprites people are about to mention. I've met the pachinko machine. I've been in the poison river. I've tried to steer the boat. None of that changes what happens to me when the plane reaches Isle Delfino. The blue water is underneath you. The island is shaped like a dolphin. That music starts. Mario is wearing short sleeves, which is apparently enough clothing design to tell my brain that we are on vacation. I love islands. I love water in games. And something about that 2000s window really filled my head with both. Wave Race Blue Storm had jet skis carving across the water on the GameCube. Final Fantasy X opened around the beaches in bright blue water. Kingdom Hearts had Destiny Islands. Wind Waker gave you an entire ocean. Then Sunshine built a Mario game out of heat, graffiti, harbors, hotels, beaches, cliffs, and the sound of water being sprayed across hot stone. I don't know if there was some meeting where everybody agreed that water was about to look incredible on new hardware. It's just how that period lives in my memory. Blue skies, clear water, and games that made being near it feel like the future. Sunshine looks like someone built an entire Mario game inside the feeling of a summer vacation. That atmosphere came directly from the main mechanic. During development, Nintendo started with the idea of Mario carrying a water pump. Once they had water, the setting began to move toward a warm southern island and a resort. They went far beyond drawing a map and putting beaches around the edges. The team made a clay model of Isle Delfino in the shape of a dolphin, with the different areas sitting on one connected piece of land. You can feel that in the finished game. Pina Park sits across the water. Corona Mountain rises behind the town. Rico Harbor, Gelato Beach, and Noki Bay feel like different parts of one island instead of themed rooms behind castle doors. Delfino Plaza holds everything together. It is a hub, but it is also one of the best levels in the game. You can bounce between awnings, follow the canals, ride the boats, climb onto the rooftops, or spray the ground and slide across. The rocket nozzle launches you through the air. The turbo nozzle smashes you through doors. The Shine Gate gives the town a center. The bell towers, docks, lighthouse, fruit stand, and little alleys give you reasons to wander away from it. Nothing in the plaza is very far apart, but Flood makes the route between places into a little adventure. Sunshine's biggest change from Mario 64 happens after Mario leaves the ground. Mario 64 makes jumping feel physical. Sunshine lets you edit the jump while it's happening. The hover nozzle gives you a second thought in midair. You can correct a bad angle, stretch a gap, stop above a platform, and decide where to land. It makes Mario more forgiving, but it also creates a new kind of improvisation. You are no longer fully committed when your shoes leave the ground. The strange part is how late the nozzle arrived. The team experimented with around 10 different nozzle types. The hover nozzle was apparently added relatively late because they needed something that helped less experienced players. One early test even had Mario spit water himself. So Flood may have saved more than Isle Delfino. It saved Mario from spending an entire game running around like a garden sprinkler. The backpack design came from the idea of firefighting equipment, and the rocket nozzle drew from the kind of bottle rocket that launches using water pressure. Those inspirations are wonderfully literal. Of course the water backpack also works like a rocket. Put it on Mario, see what happens. That spirit runs through the island. Rico Harbor takes the movement system and gives it cranes, scaffolding, fences, girders, boats, and blooper races. It has an industrial look to it, but the water and sunlight keep it from feeling gray. You can see the routes hanging over the harbor before you even know exactly how to reach them. The developers wanted tall urban spaces partly because wall kicks were so satisfying, so they built a town that could support them. Then combined with the water gun, the grime, and the graffiti, once again the body and the toy helped decide what the world would be. At one stage, they even tested letting players create graffiti, as well as erase it. The idea was dropped because remembering all those marks put too much strain on the GameCube. Water is not an ammunition counter sitting in the corner. It is the thing that makes the island respond. And it is everywhere, even when you're not using Flood. Noki Bay has water far below its cliffs, little streams running through the rocks, shells and ruins built into the walls, and the quiet music making the whole place feel hidden from the rest of the island. Serena Beach gives you a sunset, a hotel, and a casino. Gelato Beach is wide and bright. Peanut Park is visible from the mainland before you ever fire yourself towards it. Every area has its own mood, but all of them belong to the same summer. Koji Kondo said the clearer guitar sound possible on the GameCube helped shape Delfino Plaza's music. He was aiming for a European resort feeling, rather than a straightforward Caribbean or Latin American sound. That choice fits the town perfectly. It feels warm and coastal, but also old and lived in. The music never acts like you have arrived at a generic beach level. You have arrived in this town. The secret courses are where Sunshine temporarily takes the vacation away. Flood gets removed, and the music becomes this nervous a cappella Mario theme. Suddenly the safety net is gone, and every rotating block looks deeply personal. I used to see these stages as pure tests. The parts where Sunshine stops helping you and asks whether you can really control Mario. But they also prove how much Flood changes the normal game. The moment the pack disappears, you feel the commitment of every jump. Some of those courses are brilliant. They are simple shapes floating in space. But the sand blocks, flipping panels, moving cubes, and little wooden pegs create miniature obstacle courses that you can just read immediately. Other secret course levels make me feel like I upset someone personally at Nintendo. And Sunshine does have some real problems outside of those stages. The blue coins make completion feel like checking every wall of a hotel room for mold. A few missions fight the controls instead of testing them. The Watermelon Festival takes a peaceful beach and introduces the stress of transporting produce through hostile wildlife. The pachinko machine has a relationship with gravity that should be investigated. Loving Sunshine does not require turning every awkward shine into misunderstood genius. But those frustrations have never pushed the island out of my head. Other Mario games are cleaner. Galaxy has more constant invention. Odyssey gives Mario a much deeper set of moves. 3D World might be the easiest one to put in front of almost anybody. Isle Delfino is still the place I want to go back to. I want to hear the plaza music and take the long route over the rooftops. I want to spray water into the sunlight. I want to look across the harbor and feel like the other levels are sitting somewhere beyond it. Sunshine made the playground feel like an actual place. Not always a fair place, but a place I miss. Super Mario Galaxy leaves the island and starts pulling the floor out from underneath you. The basic idea went back to the Mario 128 demonstration Nintendo showed in 2000. That demo had a crowd of little Marios running around on a curved surface. It was a technical experiment, but that image stayed around. What could Mario do on a sphere? For a long time, the team worried that spherical worlds would be difficult to turn into a complete game. Then the shape started solving problems for them. On a normal stage, if something interesting can be far enough away that you cannot see it. On a small planet, you can look across the curve and spot where you are going next. You can turn toward an object, watch it disappear below the horizon, then reach the other side and discover a completely different piece of level. There is no edge forcing you to turn around. The ground keeps going. Galaxy takes one of the most basic things in a platform, knowing which way is down, and turns it into a toy. You run on the outside of a planet. You get pulled onto the underside of a platform. You jump between objects with different centers of gravity. A launch star fires Mario through the space, and camera sweeps around to show you the next little area waiting for you. The game is more directed than Mario 64 or Sunshine. Most stars put you on a clear journey, and many planets only need 1 or 2 ideas before you leave them behind. But Galaxy does not feel cramped. It feels like someone keeps rolling new playground equipment from behind a curtain. Here is a glass planet full of water. Here is a capsule where gravity flips at the midpoint. Here is a manta ray, please surf it through space. Bee Mario changes how you read walls and flowers. Ice Mario turns water into a temporary skating rink. Pull stars let you drag Mario between little points in space, firing him loose at the right moment. Rolling ball stages put the Wii remote underneath Mario like you are balancing a marble on top of it. Some motion control ideas work better than others. I would happily keep Bee Mario and lose the spring suit. Galaxy keeps changing the equipment before any one idea wears out. A playground does not need to be wide if every 10 feet it gives you something new to do. Galaxy also understands that the pause between all this movement needs a feeling of its own. The Comet Observatory is quiet. Rosalina's storybook gives the whole game a strange sadness that Mario usually keeps at a distance. You leave the bright little obstacle courses, come home, hear the music, and watch more of the observatory light up. The orchestra did a huge amount of work here. Nintendo recorded the soundtrack with an orchestra, around 50 musicians. But the clever part is how the music remains connected to play. When Mario travels through a sling star, those little harp notes are timed to the background tracks. The game is quietly adjusting the effects so your trip through space lands inside the music. All of that care goes into a sound that lasts about a second. It also explains why Galaxy feels so smooth when it moves you between ideas. The planet, animation, camera, and score all agree that you are going somewhere wonderful. Galaxy 2 decides that wonderful can arrive even faster. It began as what the team called Galaxy 1.5, a way to use ideas they did not fit into the first game. As development continued, the new material grew until Nintendo described roughly 90% of the courses and locations as new. You can feel the change in the priorities. The first Galaxy wants you to come home to the observatory. Galaxy 2 gives you a little Mario-shaped spaceship and gets back to the levels. It loses some of the first game's atmosphere for me. I remember Rosalina's observatory as a place. Starship Mario is a very charming menu with a nose. But Galaxy 2 might have the strongest collection of individual playground ideas in the whole series. Yoshi is a big part of that. The developers considered him for the first Galaxy, then held him back because the game had already too many unfamiliar elements. In the sequel, they could build courses around his tongue, flutter jump, and fruit transformations, without teaching the entire concept of spherical Mario at the same time. Cloud Mario gives you 3 temporary platforms and asks exactly how greedy you would like to be with them. The drill sends you through the center of a planet, beat blocks switch with the music, Throwback Galaxy brings back Whomp's Fortress and reveals how naturally an old open course can fit inside Galaxy's more directed rhythm. The path is controlled, but the ground changes underneath Mario so often that it still feels like play. Mario 64 gives you one large hill and waits to see what you do. Galaxy gives you 30 small planets and keeps moving the floor. Super Mario 3D Land looks at all those curved planets and open fields and asks a much simpler question. Can a 3D Mario level read as clearly as a 2D one? So 3D Land uses flagpoles, compact courses, visible blocks, and camera angles that often show you the route from a slight distance. The team talked about wanting to bridge the gap between players comfortable with original side-scrolling Mario games and the people who had already learned how to move through 3D worlds. Even stomping on an enemy had become harder in 3D because depth can be difficult to judge. The 3DS screen helped, but this level design helped even more. Enemies sit on paths you can read, platforms cast useful shadows, the spaces feel like little models built to be understood at a glance. 3D Land is not asking where you want to go today, it is putting a compact obstacle course in your hands and asking how cleanly you can get through it. That still counts as a playground. A playground does not have to be open, but Super Mario 3D World takes that shape, makes it wider, and puts 4 people on it at the same time. Now every clean route has another player picking you up, stealing the power-up, getting trapped in a bubble, or jumping on your head when you're absolutely about to make the jump. The multiplayer works because cooperation and interference are almost the same action. Everybody needs to reach the flagpole, but the crown for the highest score gives you a small reason to become a problem. Mario 64 gives you a field. 3D World gives you a jungle gym with 4 children trying to use the same ladder. The cat suit fits that design perfectly. Nintendo began with 2 functions: running on all 4s and climbing walls. Before the cat character was ready, the team tested those moves using normal characters. Apparently, watching them crawl around like that looked less like a Mario power-up and more like a horror scene. The cat solved that visual problem, but also solved a movement problem. Missing the edge of a platform no longer has to end the attempt. You can scratch your way upward. A wall becomes a short alternate route. The goal pole becomes something to climb rather than simply touch. The double cherry came from a mistake during development. 2 Marios appeared in a stage at once. Instead of immediately fixing the duplicate, the team noticed that controlling both of them was fun. The game did something wrong, somebody played with it, and the mistake became a power-up. A bug became a toy. The developers have said only around 1 in 50 of their course ideas survived into the final game. That explains why 3D World is so dense. A level introduces clear pipes, shadow play, trapezes, switches, cherries, or moving platforms. Explores the idea for a few minutes, then ends before the equipment gets boring. It is less interested in wandering than Sunshine. There's rarely a quiet corner where I want to stand and listen to the music, but hand the controller to 4 people and the players create the wandering themselves. Somebody falls behind, somebody finds a stamp, somebody carries everyone else into danger. The course has a fixed shape, the mess does not. After 2 games of obstacle courses, Super Mario Odyssey gives Mario a much larger place to run around again. And he arrives with the best movement he has ever had. You can roll down a hill, leap out of a roll, throw Cappy, dive onto the cap, bounce forward, hit a wall, and jump off it. Then you throw the cap again and reach a roof the level designer probably expected you to approach using stairs like an adult. The moves flow into each other so naturally that learning them changes the size of every kingdom. A building that once looked like scenery becomes a route. A gap that once required a capture becomes a personal challenge. Flat ground becomes somewhere to practice getting a slightly better roll boost even though nobody is timing you. Cappy also turns almost everything into a possible toy. The first time you throw him at an enemy, you don't know how far the idea can go. Then Mario is a frog, then a chain chomp, a stack of Goombas, a bullet bill, a tank, a zipper, a piece of meat. Mario has always transformed. But captures are different because they temporarily replace his entire relationship with the level. Each capture is simple. Most only need 1 or 2 actions. The fun comes from picking up a new body and immediately looking around for the part of the space built for it. The Sand Kingdom is a perfect early example because you can see so much of it at once. The inverted pyramid, ruins, towns, oasis, and distant edges all sit in view. The critical path can guide you toward the major story objectives, but some strange glint or suspicious mound keeps pulling you sideways. The Wooded Kingdom stacks its space vertically. There are forests, machinery, cliffs, hidden lower areas, and that enormous wall surrounding everything. New Donk City might be the purest playground in Odyssey. It's a grid of streets and buildings. The poles, awnings, taxis, fire escapes, and wires and rooftops turn the city into movement equipment. Mario looks ridiculous there, in the best way. Realistic people are going to work, and a small man in white gloves is triple jumping up the side of City Hall. Odyssey scatters power moons everywhere to keep that sideways curiosity moving. The developers said part of the reason there are so many was the Switch itself. In handheld mode, somebody might only play for 2 or 3 minutes, so the game needed discoveries that could fit inside that short session. That works. See something odd, walk over, get a moon. Crown pound the glowing spot, catch the rabbit, notice the bird, plant the seed, stack the Goombas, annoy a taxi driver. The little rewards give every counter a reason to exist, but they also create Odyssey's strangest tension. When everything gives you a moon, the moons start to feel less important. A difficult platforming route and a lump under the sand can end with the same exact animation. You hear the music and add 1 to the total, and move on. Eventually I stop feeling like I discovered something rare and start feeling like I'm clearing notifications. Mario's movement rescues the game. The moon might get me behind a building. Mario is why I spend 20 minutes trying to reach the roof. Odyssey is full of the routes that the game barely asks you to use. Roll across the Sand Kingdom faster than intended, or climb New Donk with a mixture of poles, dives, and wall jumps. The best reward in Odyssey is often realizing that a move is possible. That also makes the game remarkably welcoming. A new player can follow the story, use captures, collect easy moons, and see the ending. A more experienced player can treat the exact same kingdom like a skate park. There's a lovely confidence in that design. Nintendo does not have to make every player perform the advanced jump. The move can exist because it feels good. The building can have a roof because somebody will decide to reach it. Mario 64 had to prove that simply running in 3D could be fun. Odyssey gets to build on 2 decades of that proof. It gives you a roll, a cap, and enough rooftops to become a local nuisance. Bowser's Fury is still the newest stop on this line, and it feels like several different versions of 3D Mario were poured into Lake Lapcat at once. It uses 3D World's movement and power-ups, but the lake is open. The islands are compact obstacle courses, but you travel between them freely. Plessy turns the water into a route, Cat Shines pull you towards specific jobs, and Fury Browser occasionally arrives to set the entire sky on fire. Lake Lapcat is one connected place, in the way Isle Delfino was one connected place. Although its structure is different, each island feels like a small 3D world course that happens to be sitting inside a larger map. You can spot another shine across the water, jump onto Plessy, skim towards it, then get distracted by something floating between the two. Stored power-ups make experimentation easier. If a challenge looks better with the catsuit, you can pull one out. If you lose it, the game is not asking you to leave the area and go shopping for another bell. Fury Bowser changes familiar spaces when he appears. Blocks become available, hazards wake up, the calm lake becomes hostile. Sometimes that creates a brilliant little improvisation where you use Bowser's attack to open a route. Sometimes I'm halfway through doing something else and the game announces that a very large turtle has added something to the schedule. The interruption can be exciting or annoying, depending on the exact 30 seconds in which it happens. That friction is part of why Bowser's Fury feels experimental. It feels like a team asking how an open map, compact courses, free movement, and a changing world might fit together. It is short enough to keep asking without having to solve every problem. And I love that the connective tissue is water. After all these years, Mario is riding across a bright blue lake toward a set of little islands, taking detours because something interesting appeared off to the side. I know which earlier game that makes me think of. The playground idea does not excuse everything these games do. Sometimes Mario 64 camera hides the landing. Sometimes Sunshine takes a wonderful movement system and makes it carry a watermelon. Galaxy has motion control stages I would be comfortable never seeing again. 4-player Mario 3D World can become so busy that nobody knows which tiny character just fell into lava. Odyssey can reward every action until none of the rewards feel special. Fury Bowser can interrupt the route at exactly the moment you wanted 5 quiet minutes. Those are not secretly brilliant because they happen in great games. They are the moments when the equipment gets between you and playing. The difference is easy to feel. A good Mario objective gives a moment somewhere interesting to go. Climb the mountain, cross the harbor, skate over the water, reach the roof. A frustrating one makes you stop enjoying the body and starts negotiating with the machinery around it. Fight the camera, wait for the platform, search a huge level for one blue coin you missed 11 hours ago. Even the best playground can have a broken swing. What keeps 3D Mario working is how quickly it usually gives you another one. Leave the bad shine. Pick a different painting. Fly to another galaxy. Walk 1 block over in New Donk City and find a scooter. The series has never found one perfect structure. It keeps rebuilding that space around Mario because his movement is strong enough to survive the experiment. When I think about these games, I do remember the stars and shine sprites and moons. But the first image that comes back are usually the bits in between them. Running around the castle courtyard when there's nothing to do. taking an impractical route across Delfino Plaza, ice skating in a circle on a tiny planet because the animation feels good, watching Cat Mario scramble up the wall, landing on new donk rooftop with no useful reason to be there. The objective gets you moving. The little unnecessary decisions make the movement yours. For me, loving a game and thinking it has the cleanest design have never been the same question. There are days where I'd rather play Galaxy. There are individual courses in 3D World that are tighter than almost anything on Isle Delfino. Odyssey gives me more freedom in one jump than Sunshine gives me in an entire nozzle box. But when I picture the place I want to return to, I see that island. I see the water around Delfino Plaza, and I see the rooftops above it. I hear the guitar. I know I can reach the next level in about 30 seconds, and I also know I'm probably going to climb onto the Shine Gate first. That feeling started in Peach's driveway. Nintendo put a castle in front of me and made the yard good enough that I did not go inside. Across every 3D Mario game, the stars and moons give me a reason to enter the world. They tell me where to look, reward me for getting there, and eventually open the door to Bowser. They are not why I stay. Sometimes I want to run around the yard a little longer. Sometimes I want to stay on the island. That's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and please leave any comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Please subscribe if you haven't. It really helps me out. Have a good one. Again, I really appreciate you watching. See you next time.